Yo guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another video. As today we've got a ton of new stuff to talk about for the Detroit Pistons. We got the 2023 NBA draft coming up soon. Obviously, I know we're all pissed about getting screwed in the NBA draft lottery and getting the 5th overall pick. I'm pretty pissed about it. I'm sure you guys are all too. We got a ton of prospects and projects that we could add in the draft. We also got new head coach in town in Monty Williams from the Phoenix Suns, top 5 head coach in the league. I'm sure most of you guys are pretty familiar with him, but we're going to talk about why signing him was such a big deal and big news for the Detroit Pistons. But we're going to talk a lot about this 2023 NBA draft, and like I said, I know we're all pissed about getting the 5th overall pick, but there's still some guys that we can get, some prospects, some assets, and just some projects that could work out in the future, including guys like Cam Whitmore, Thompson, Thompson, and Taylor Hendricks. So we're going to talk about all of them. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced any of their names. Please let me know if I'm pronouncing any of them wrong, like Thompson. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Thompson, I think that's how you say it. Just let me know. But either way, coming off of just a 17-win season, I know all Detroit Pistons fans have probably lost all hope. And we're all, kind of accepting the fact that we're probably 3 to 5 years from even making a playoff run, winning a playoff series. But I think that, I'm not saying that in this draft we can find someone that's going to immediately just be the star of this team, but maybe, 2-3 years down the road, finds a starting role on this team, or at least just a role player, off the bench, something like that. I could see it happening. So we're going to go over some prospects. We're going to start with Cam Whitmore from Villanova. We're going to talk about some stats. We're going to talk about just a lot of things, that I think why he's my number one NBA prospect for this year's draft, at least for not like overall, but just for who the Pistons could get, because obviously outside of those top 3 with Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, and Brandon Miller, outside of those top 3, this guy's probably my number one prospect. Looking at the freshman's stats from his Villanova freshman year, he averaged about 12.5 points per game, just over 5 rebounds, just under 1 assist, and he averaged about 48% from the field and just over 34% from 3. I look at all those numbers and I think, for a guy who was injured for a lot of the year and a freshman in the Big East, I would say those are pretty impressive stats. Stats that, might not jump out the screen at you, but at the same time, for a freshman, those are not bad numbers at all. I think his shooting percentages really are what I'm looking at, because he's going to improve that. And not only that, but, he's going to get better at everything. He's going to get bigger. He's going to be able to drive to the hoop more. But we're going to talk about some things that this guy does really well. This guy's got a really good three-point shot. He's got a good step-back 3. His athletic ability is amazing. You can see his step-back 3 ability right there. You're going to see his athletic ability. You probably already saw it in those first few clips. The guy can jump out of the gym. He's about 6'7" on the court. I think his off-court measurement without shoes on was like 6'5" or something like that, which, you know what, if you're at least 6'6", I would say, in the NBA, you can play small forward. He could probably work on building his frame a little bit more, getting a little bit, bigger, beefier. That's something that can come, within 2 years. He could gain, look at Cade Cunningham over this offseason. He got a lot bigger. He's able to absorb more contact, draw more fouls. And that's something he could work on, because he likes to drive it into the paint here and there. And, to be able to absorb contact, draw fouls, and finish at the rim are very important in the NBA. So that's something I think he could work on. It's just getting a little bit bigger. Obviously, shot selection I think is decent. Obviously in the NBA, he'll know his role, so I'm not really worried about that at all either. But yeah, just being able to drive it in, being able to just take threes like that, he just definitely impresses me with his all-around game. I think one thing that he just should really work on is his playmaking ability. If he can become a solid playmaker, even if, let's say, if he averages 2 or 3 assists per game, that, to me, for a small forward, I'm okay with that. There's not a lot of small forwards in the league that are really big playmakers, you know what I mean? So if he can just, be able to dish out the ball, find the open guy, and do things like that, I think that that's something that he could really improve his game on. But his athletic ability and shooting really impresses me. So our first Thompson brother is going to be Thompson. So the first thing that really jumped out about me, about both of them, is that they both played in Overtime Elite, which is more of like a social media league in a way. And correct me if I'm wrong. And also correct me if I'm wrong about their names, please, because I want to be able to pronounce them right, especially if they get drafted to us. But by then, I'd probably know how to pronounce it. But either way, just let me know. Let me know if I'm pronouncing wrong or anything. But played at Overtime Elite, which it's not great competition. Like this is like almost like high school level competition. It's not really. Correct me if I'm wrong again. If this is like super good competition, but from what I've heard, it's more of just social media kind of a league, and it's not super intense or anything. It's not like they're not playing hard, but that's why I just, it's hard to look at the stats and really be like, oh, wow. But at the same time, the tape is there, and you can see that both of them have some game in them, and that's why they're going to be top 10 picks. So we're going to look at some stats real quick. At Overtime Elite, he averaged just over 16 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists with about 2.5 steals per game. Shooting percentages were really low. His three-point percentage was actually under 30%, but it sounds like from what I've heard that his three-point percentage got a lot better as the season went on, and he was shooting about 33% to end the season. Something that he could really work on, obviously, is his three-point shot. But something that really jumps out to me is not only his defensive ability, but his playmaking ability is something that's really important, I think, in today's NBA game. And, if you want to be able to improve your draft stock, having a good playmaking ability can easily improve that. Now, very similar to his brother, Thompson had very similar stats, as he averaged about just over 16 points per game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and about around 2.5 steals per game as well. So very similar stats. They're also both 6'7". Thompson shoots about 25% from three, something that, again, you got to be able to work on. But like I was mentioning earlier with Thompson, having a great playmaking ability is important in the NBA. So that's something that really jumps out to me, having 6 assists per game, just like his brother did. So for each of them to be able to do that, I think is very important. In today's NBA, you got to be able to have great playmaking. So that's very important. But also the defensive ability. If you guys watched the Detroit Pistons this year, we can all agree the defense was just like non-existent for about half the games. I mean, we were giving up over 100 basically every single game. And not only that, but we were giving up 120 to some crap teams, and it was kind of embarrassing. They were just giving no effort, and I know that, they probably all knew our season was basically over, but to be just, not even trying out there is just, we need some guys that want to be out there, that want to play. And I think coaching's a big part of that as well. But either way, these guys are studs defensively. The only thing that they just really need to work on is that shooting ability. If they can get a 33 to 35, I'd say, 35% three-point shot, I would definitely be interested in taking them. They've got good size to them. They've got good athletic ability, as you can, probably been able to tell. But I would really love to have one of these guys, but I need them to be able to shoot the ball. Because if they can shoot the ball at a high percentage and drill some threes and also be able to play some defense, I mean, that'd be awesome. And I think that would for sure make them be top 10 to 5 picks. And I would totally be okay with taking either one of them, as they're both pretty similar, both about the same size, same stats. So definitely work on the 3-point percentage, and they could be great. Now we've got Taylor Hendricks from UCF, University of Central Florida. Not a super great basketball school, but at the same time, you got a 6'9" guy that can do what he does, you're going to be pretty impressed. Because when I tell you his stats, I'm sure maybe some of you guys have heard of him, but I don't know if all of you guys know what his shooting percentages are, but it's pretty impressive for being 6'9". Starting off, he averaged about 15 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, and a little over 1 assist per game, I believe. I kind of forget, but I think I'll get the exact number up on the screen. I forget what it was. But he also averaged about 1 steal per game and just under 2 blocks per game. So his defensive ability is also there. His three-point percentage was 39.4% as a freshman. That right there is, probably among all freshmen in the country who played as much as he did. I would say that's probably up there, up there with Brandon Miller, who shoots, over 40% from three. I mean, almost 40% from three is insane for a freshman, especially with his size and his stature. I mean, it's pretty overwhelming, especially for college defenses to have to go out and guard that. So definitely a guy who I'd be interested in if he can play that 3 spot for us. You can see he loves to take it in. He's got a great athletic ability. He knows what to do with the ball. Playmaking, one thing he can definitely work on. I think that's something that a lot of guys need to work on, even in the NBA, but definitely something he can work on there. And, other than that, it's hard to really critique his game, because he's got an all-around game to him. Obviously, like I said, playmaking could get better, but his defense is there, something, that I think, like I said before, I think we all want a guy who shows up every night defensively and will bring it, and just not only that, but be able to shoot the ball at a high percentage. And that's exactly what we need, and that's why I think taking this guy would really not be the worst decision. Definitely one of the guys that I like more. But I'll tell you guys who my top option is for who we should get in the 2023 NBA draft. But definitely a guy who I'd be interested in taking, especially with that shooting percentage, the defensive ability. He's got the film. He's got everything. Stats are great, 15 points per game. He might not be playing in the most, tough conference, the best competition, but at the same time, this is a proven guy who showed up all year long for UCF. So definitely going to be a fun guy to watch, in his NBA journey. And like I said before, I'm not expecting all these guys to just be able to come in and start right away, obviously, but guys that maybe 2-3 years down the road could easily find their way into a starting role and just be solid role players for us to be able to help us out when needed and, just be those guys that we need to help step up in big games and stuff like that. Similar to like a Jaylen Brown, even though I know probably a bad example after what he just did in the Eastern Conference Finals. It seems like a lot of people have had their different questions, I guess, doubts about Troy Weaver, but what he just did, it's not only on him, it's a lot on the owner, Tom Gores, who went out and got Monty Williams. But either way, I think a lot of people started to lose faith in Troy a little bit, which I just never bought into. Like, what are you going to do when you've got, a coach that doesn't really want to coach anymore, players that are hurt, players that are just kind of, trying to get the season over with and get into next season, to go out and get this kind of a guy who is used to being in a winning culture, a guy who's made it to the finals, a guy who's developed talent like Devin Booker. I mean, we're looking at a guy who it's just a huge pickup, a guy who I can help see us, lead us to the NBA finals down the road. It might take a few years, but man, this was such a good hire. And one more thing, I think that a lot of people were kind of confused about the whole $72 million thing. That money does not have to do with anything with our cap space, meaning that money is 100% on Tom Gores, the owner. He has to pay him all that. We don't have to worry about paying the head coach. So if you're saying, oh, he's overpaid and all this, you don't have to worry about it. It's not going to affect us. It's not our money. It's Tom Gores, so don't worry about it. It's not ours. So we're going to go ahead and kind of talk about, what I've just gone over. Cam Whitmore, he's the guy that I think the Pistons should get. I think he's a guy who can play the 2 or the 3 spot. He's about 6'7". I think that this is a guy who, could be a project piece that ends up having a big role on the Pistons starting, his rookie year. I think that he could have a great rookie year. Might only average 10 to 12 points per game, but that's all we're going to need him to do because as of right now, the Pistons are just really trying to fill in those missing pieces. We got the 3 stars with Cade, Ivy, and Duren. Now it's about filling in the rest of the missing pieces like the bench players, the role players, just guys that can fill in the other spots. Because we don't need a team of all stars. We just need 2 to 3 that can, go out there, be some of the best guys in the league, help us win, and just be the guys when we need them to. You know what I mean? So having a guy like Cam Whitmore, who, let's say Bojan Bogdanovic, I think that's how you say his name, if he leaves down the road, you know what? We got guys like Cam Whitmore that can come in, Isaiah Livers who can come in. But, starting next year and the year after that, Cam Whitmore will probably come off the bench. Be a guy who comes off with Isaiah Livers, Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes probably not. He'll probably be gone. Alec Burks will definitely, I hope, still be there. He'll come off the bench with guys like that, and we'll have a big role and, a big impact for us. And if he can get better defensively and playmaking, a guy who I see having a big role for us in the future, and I'm excited to see what he can do. So I think we should get Cam Whitmore. So, yeah, you guys let me know who you guys want to see in this 2023 NBA draft. Is it, trade up for Brandon Miller, or does Brandon Miller fall at 5? Do you even want Brandon Miller? Or you're like me and you really want Cam Whitmore, a guy who you could see, being a bench player, good role player that, comes in, does his job, and then ends up being a great player down the road, I should say, in the future, and could end up being a star in the NBA, or at least just being a guy that, is serviceable and ends up being a great player in the NBA, because I think he'll be great. I think he'll be amazing. I think he'll be a great player in the NBA. So with that all being said, let me know what you guys think of the whole Monty Williams situation, what NBA prospect you're looking at or maybe that you don't want. And yes, let me know your guys' thoughts on everything, especially the whole Monty Williams hiring. Let me know what you guys think about that. And yeah, just let me know what you guys think about the future of this team and this franchise because, I got a little more excited. But we'll see. We'll see what everyone else thinks. Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like, subscribe, comment anything you want. Please be nice, though. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.